Welcome back, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Walter at the workbench with a lovely piece of cherry in the rough. So I'm just looking at grain direction. This is going out in this direction, so this is going to want to be planed this way. And as luck would have it, it looks like we might be in the same situation as we get over here. So that would mean when you flip it over, it's going to go that way. For edge planing, we're looking at this direction. And this one's a bit squirrely. I'm hoping, and we'll find out, it's in this direction. So this piece of wood came from a large log. And you can see it's got heartwood over here. There really isn't much sapwood. There's a little bit of light coloring here, but this is the heart. And we go from flat sawn out towards this edge. It's more rift sawn. So you get a little more of the vertical grain. So you could rip this board in half and have flat sawn and rift sawn. But we're going to work it as it is. Now, first thing I do is determine which side I want down on the bench. So if I put this side down, press here, this side comes up. If I press here, this side comes up a little. So this has got a little bit of a belly right in here. If I flip it down this way, you can see it's got a severe pivot. So that means that this side and this side are high. So my first goal is to look this over and get it so that it will sit flat. And it looks like it's high here and high here. So the first tool of choice is going to be the scrub plane. I've got the scrub plane and the 5.5. Now you've heard me complain about all the dog holes in my bench, but this is one instance where it comes in handy. If I didn't have these dog holes, I'd have to set up some sort of a stop board. So I've got the scrub plane set light. Now what is a scrub plane? It is a plane with a wide open mouth that has a cambered or rounded blade. And you can set that at whatever projection you want for the cut you want. So I start out light to see what I have, and then we'll give it an adjustment. Now typically a scrub plane has a single iron, meaning there is no chip breaker. Now, one caution is when you're pushing the plane out over the edge, you can get a tear out known as spelching. Yes, that's a word. So oftentimes we run a little bevel right there. So this is a short plane, and it will take off the high spots. See, it's just catching those high spots. Same thing will be down here if I want to go this way. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I am going to assume one of the reasons that they call it a scrub plane is due to the nature of what would look like a scrubbing action, like scrubbing a floor. Now, can you do this with other planes? Sure. But the scrub plane allows you to take off thick shavings quickly. The biggest problem with a scrub plane is tear out. All right, so that is flat enough to work this side. Now, usually when you have rough sawn lumber, you've got oxidation, sometimes dirt. I've already brushed this off. So as you work it, you should see your progress. I try to keep the scrub plane blade in the middle. So the safest way is to go straight across, because you're utilizing a weakness in the wood and if your blade is sharp, you will not get much tear out. It's only when you start going in direction of the grain or against the grain. So as you can see, there's a high spot in here. We take our square, straight edge, see how it rocks? We take a little bit more up here. And now we can start going all the way across. Once again, remembering you can get this spelching on that side. And normally I don't recommend just slamming down your scrub plane on your bench top, because the blade is sticking out and you'll gouge your bench top. So I hope you're having a good day. So as you progress, you can go diagonal. One way, you can go diagonal the other way. Just be conscious of grain direction. So I'm going pretty easy on this. I'm not trying to take big old heavy cuts. We've got a hollow going right through here. So there's two ways to approach that. Take more off on just one side or take it off on both. I'm going to take it off on this one side here first. To try and balance it. Big old hollow there. If you want to track your progress, you can also mark it with some chalk, crayon, whatever suits you. So what you're making are these little concave cuts that when you change direction, the plane rides over the high spots. I've got this set pretty thick now. All right, where are we? Okay, that is good enough to now take some sort of a triplane to it. Now, I'm using my 5.5 here, and there goes the microphone. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Hope you're still there. So now you can take your triplane to it, and that could be anything from your number 4, 5, 5.5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you have. So now, you see this? This wants to ride right over the top. when you go from scrub plane to a jack or a four plane, you can start with fairly heavy cuts because you're riding over the top. All right, so I'll show you. Here's a scrub plane channel. Here's another one. Here's another one. So we're riding over top of those. As you get more flat, you may have to retract your plane blade a little. Unless, of course, you're good and flat. I mean, good and sharp, I should say. All right. You see where we got the little holes? That's where the scrub plane was. Then you start taking a couple of diagonal cuts. And as you start getting closer, retract your blade, lubricate your sole, and start taking finer cuts. Because now you're going to be more into a smoothing phase. This is the type of work that was usually given to an apprentice and as the advent of power planers came about, this task is now given to power planers, jointers, and planers. So now you can see why I said in the beginning, you don't want to overset your scrub plane. I went a little heavy. Now I'm regretting it because I have to take out all this tear out. Number 5 is working really well, and I still haven't restored it yet. Still got some here, 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 and here. Everything else is feeling pretty good. If you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comment section. But this is the process of flattening a board. And you just have to do it. And this cherry is probably pushing 8 or 10 years old. So it's dry. There is something in the grain here. I don't know what it is. Not tear out. It might be actually in the grain. This was a cut-off reject from a lumber mill. All right. There's 2 little spots here and 1 there. But otherwise, that's done. Now, we have to check it for flat and straight. Flat. If anything, it could have a little bit more taken off of each outer side. And there's still this one little tear out. It's amazing how well the old Stanley Sweetheart blade is performing. It's done all of that and still cutting beautifully. Still a little tiny mark there. So if you want to work out, do your own rough planing. If you want to save time, use the power planer. Little high spot here and that hole, and we're done. So from here, I really want to get rid of that tear out. Normally I would let it go, but I just want to do it because I know it's there. There we go. There we go. Now, one of the reasons I used to go to this mill and pick up seconds or rejects is because they specialized in highly figured woods. So if you see this cherry, see the figure in that? See how pretty that is? That does offer some hand planing challenges. Okay, we're high in the middle, so we'll just take a few plain shavings off in the middle. We'll call that good. At this point, you know me, I marked the end I planed from, so I know to plane in that direction. The next step in four-squaring is to work the edge grain. That's a nasty one. That one's straighter. We're going to go with that one. You can use a scrub plane on edge grain. However, it would usually be just for a couple of passes. Okay, you could use it, but see, it's already grabbing and tearing out. This is an unusual piece of wood. I am not sure which way it's going to want to be planed. So the scrub is out. Back to Jumbo Jack. So now the goal is to prepare the edge to be square to the face. All right. Okay, that grain is going in every direction. So that brings us back to face marking. Face marking is basically, we'll do it in chalk so you can see it. When you mark your face, it is the top portion of the letter F, okay? So it's basically that. That tells me this is the face. You can do that too, and that tells you the face. Now we're heading towards the edge, all right? So we want that to be square to the face. And I love it when everybody does this on camera and says, yep, that looks good. How would you know? You would never know. I do. It's not square. I'm high on this side. And we're going against the grain. I can tell this blade is starting to dull because we're in reversing grain and it's kind of arguing with me. very close. So you recall me saying when you're dealing with an out of square situation, you utilize this non-cutting edge of the plane to ride on the wood, okay, which allows you to take a little bit of a shaving off of just the one side. Until you manage to make any corrections. And get squared up. I know this is going to be a long video. I'm square down here and here, but not up here. And there we have it. So that's square. And you can choose your marking that you use on that. Mine is to go from the face. I go down with 2 lines. That tells me my edge is straight and true, and it's square to that face. So that's all for this video. A long one, I know. In the next video, we're going to talk about marking gauges. I've got a few others that I found here. But for now, I'm all sweaty. Like, subscribe, and share. Head out to your shop. Go plane down some rough boards. Make some shavings. Walter out.